Sean Hannity from 1 till 4 on News Talk KVNU 102 FM and 610 AM.
KVNU News Time is 5:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. A 66-year-old Wellsville man previously convicted of sexually abusing two girls has been arrested for allegedly downloading child pornography over the internet, according to investigators. Curtis Wayne Lee was booked into the Cache County Jail on Tuesday after law enforcement served a search warrant to his home. According to an arrest affidavit, a member of the Logan Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force began investigating Lee in August after detecting a computer allegedly downloading child pornography. The agent was using investigative software to monitor file sharing networks known as BitTorrents. The officer reportedly found over a dozen photos being shared by a computer in Wellsville. The images were of a 10 to 12-year-old girl in various pornographic poses. Police noted in the arresting documents the suspect would have to intentionally and methodically utilize the network to acquire and share files of this nature. They were able to track the computer's IP address to Lee's residence. Tuesday morning, officers served a warrant to the home and took Lee into custody. They also seized a laptop, multiple hard drives, and other digital storage devices. Court records show Lee was arrested in 1997 for molesting two young girls. The crimes occurred repeatedly over a period of time. He was later convicted of sexual abuse of a child, a second-degree felony, and was sentenced to serve 1 year in jail. KVNU News Time is 5:05. KVNU weather for tonight. Mostly clear skies is our forecast. Overnight low around 40, and then partly cloudy, then clearing on Friday, mid-70s for the high. And then Saturday, kind of breezy, upper 70s for the high. Winds out of the southwest, increasing to 15 to 25 miles per hour. Then a chance of showers by Saturday night. It's 70 right now at KVNU. Napa Auto Parts features all the best brands: Croyle, Amsoil, BG, Schaefer, Seafoam. Find the best parts and oil to keep your car running at its best from your 5 locally owned, Preston to Providence, Napa Auto Parts stores.
Is it time to upgrade or transform your dining area? Stop in and browse U&I Furniture's big selection of dining sets. U&I just picked up a spectacular assortment from different brand name manufacturers. They have small tables for 2 up to a big table for all family gatherings. U&I has lots of options, some with benches and swivel stools. And make sure you check out the chairs U&I has. Accent chairs, recliners, upholstered chairs, and more. There really is always a better buy at U&I. U&I Furniture in downtown Logan.
KVNU News Time is 5:06. In the first Logan City Council candidate spotlight on KVNU's For the People program on Tuesday, our guest was incumbent Jeannie Simmons. When it comes to priority issues with voters, one of the big ones is growth. She said growth is something that people want as it helps keep a community dynamic.
But the pandemic made it happen in sort of an accelerated fashion that nobody was anticipating. And it has knocked a lot of things out of kilter for the community at large, not just Logan. And while we have the resources to support growth, it would be nice to have it come in a sort of more measured, shall we say slower way than it's coming.
When it comes to managing growth, Simmons has plenty of experience being on the Logan Planning Commission before she was elected to the Logan City Council. She said that experience was an eye-opener for her.
Because it gave you a 100% different perspective than you would have any other way. Because you would begin to understand what is allowed, how it's allowed, why it's allowed, how you can change it if you don't like it.
Sure.
And the commission has that responsibility because they are the ones who put forward changes in code that make changes in what the community looks like.
Simmons said as a council member, she has strived to model herself after former council member and now Logan Mayor Holly Daines, as she said that Daines had always took the time to know what was going on in the city, why legislation that was coming before the council was important, and what about the legislation needed to be tweaked. And as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints prepare for their semi-annual general conference this week, the president of the church said he will not be in attendance due to a recent fall. President Russell M. Nelson, also Jeffrey R. Holland, will both be watching the conference proceedings while continuing to recover from health challenges. Nelson posted on social media this afternoon that he will be watching the twice-annual conference through technology, just as most other members will. He explained how 3 weeks ago he fell and injured the muscles in his lower back. The fall happened 2 days after his 99th birthday. A former heart surgeon, Nelson became the faith's president in 2018 after serving as a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. He is the oldest living president of the church in its history. KBNU News Time is 5:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
When a friend or loved one is hurt, you want to help them. If your loved one was injured because of someone else's negligent or careless driving, help them by telling them to call the Advocates, now with offices in Cache Valley. We don't charge for the consultation or any meeting after, and you will pay nothing out of pocket while we fight for the settlement your loved one deserves. We only get paid if you do. Call the Advocates today at 801-355-5550 or chat online at utahadvocates.com. Your loved ones deserve an advocate.
It's fall at Anderson Seed and Garden. It's time to focus on your lawn so it's green and luscious this fall, but also next spring. Our experts will give you great tips and tricks to make it happen. We have soil activator, fertilizers, winterizers, weed control at truckload prices. Also, thousands of flower bulbs and garlic have arrived for fall planting. Over 150 varieties to choose from, including daffodils, tulips, and more. Come see what's new at Anderson Seed and Garden, 69 West Center in Logan.
Time is your most precious resource, so why waste another minute with blurred vision? At Monson Vision, we specialize in providing custom, permanent vision restoration for maturing eyes. If you're looking to ditch your glasses and contacts once and for all, you can with custom lens replacement. Dr. Monson can permanently correct astigmatism and both nearsighted and farsighted vision. Call Monson Vision today and turn back the clock on aging eyes. Visit monsonvision.com.
The Aggies are heading to Connecticut to face the Huskies Saturday morning.
You know, Aggie Nation can be super proud of the guys that we got in that locker room. Keep helping them, keep pulling on them, keep lifting them up. They're going to get better. We're going to get better.
KVNU is your home for the best game coverage with pregame at 8, kickoff at 10, and postgame and Aggie call immediately after the game. It's the Aggies and the Huskies Saturday on News Talk KVNU, the heritage home for the Aggies.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Hour 2 of today's show. Continuing on with our candidate spotlights. Taking a look at candidates for the Logan City Council in the municipal races. Again, a plea to everyone to find some time for your municipal races. It is so much, especially now, but always, but especially now with all the growth and change and the importance of planning ahead as far as how we grow. Your municipal races right now, I don't think have ever been so important. Your vote really matters in helping to decide who gets to decide, what the shape of things to come looks like. And we know it's coming one way or another. So I know everyone's excited about all the drama and pretense and theater of the presidential election next year. But find some time for these, because the decisions made at the local level impact you far more than what any president spends their time doing. So there's my plea again. And remember those dates and deadlines for registration and more with Election Day coming the Tuesday before Thanksgiving this year instead of the 1st of November, bumped back a bit due to a special election the legislature wanted to make sure happened this year to replace Congressman Stewart. So vote.utah.gov. You can see all the deadlines. Get yourself registered. Get candidate guides and more. And with that, we'll get right to our next candidate spotlight for the Logan City Municipal Council elections. Joining us now, an incumbent in this race and running for re-election, Mark Anderson. And Mark, appreciate taking some time for KVNU today. This is, there's no way to overstate it, right? This is a pretty important time for Logan City.
It's an important election, and part of my entire campaign, probably not just part, but my entire campaign so far this year has been get out and vote. So that's exactly what you were just talking about. It's like, it's so important. You can really make a difference at the local level, and that actually trickles up to state and to federal when you get out and vote for your local officials. So important that if you're registered, vote. If you aren't registered, go register. It's so easy. It just takes, honestly, 10 minutes to go to the courthouse and get registered. It's super, super easy. So get out there and vote.
Oh, absolutely. And really, the decisions that are made at the local level always more directly impact your daily life. But right now, Mark, there is so much on the table, and it's not just for Logan. Logan, of course, being the largest city in the valley, it gets a lot of attention and can sometimes set a tone, for the rest of the valley and it's in the decisions. But every city is dealing with this. Every city is dealing with growth like we've never seen before, and a challenge, one both kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge mandated by the state legislature, and the other just the reality of what we see happening around us. But planning has just become the thing that every city needs to start doing if they aren't already. Logan has a history of kind of being a little ahead of the planning side of things, right?
That's the way we like it. We try and be on top of it. We have a long-range plan for, all of our zoning. We have a long-range plan for what we'd like to do with downtown, which is coming together amazingly well. I mean, everything that's happening downtown is so exciting right now. And that's part of our plan, and that's been a plan for the last, 6 years or so to get those going with Center Street and with the library and with the plaza that just opened up. We just had a ribbon cutting. So, there's some really great things that are happening, but, we've got to plan ahead for future growth. We've got to plan ahead for, better industry to come in. We're pretty well retailed for our community, especially if we have this project going on out at the current Cache Valley Mall. But, we want to bring in some really great jobs. We want to bring in some really nice, clean, very good-paying industry that can really help our community and help our valley. And to do that, we've got to have the right infrastructure. We've got to have access to energy, to electricity, and, make sure and take care of that infrastructure so that we can continue to grow and provide the services. I mean, that's really what Logan City is supposed to do. Provide the services to our community and to our citizens that they really need.
Sure. And what's really interesting to me, Mark, about city government in general is cities are tasked with providing those services in an environment where half the time the attention's being pulled away by the city needing to react to something that wasn't necessarily the city's decision, like the decision of another city or UDOT or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other half of the time, there are pressures on the city's attention to try and respond to, the changes of what people want and what people do with their time and what will get people spending their retail dollars.
Right.
One of those, you mentioned downtown, and one of those changes that's, again, impacting every city, not just Logan, that's interesting to me is something that's changed since the 80s and 90s. Now more people want to live a walkable distance from the downtown. That wasn't the case 30 years ago. The opposite was the case 30 years ago.
Exactly. We wanted to move to the suburbans and and have a bigger yard and bigger neighborhood, and now that has kind of changed. And there are a lot of people that would rather not have a yard, and they don't have to. They don't want to have to worry about taking care of a yard or property. They want something more simple so they can go out and enjoy recreating out in the mountains or at the lake or wherever that might be, and kind of people's priorities have changed a little bit. And so we see a lot of projects going in right now with mixed use. We see a lot of multifamily housing. We don't see nearly as many single family home developments, even though there are quite a few going on. But we have to, as a city, encourage new development that's going to have an impact on all of our citizens. Maybe you only want a single family home right now, but there's a lot of other people that are happy with a multifamily, more of a dense housing opportunity, and that's what they're looking for. So we have to create these opportunities for housing on all levels, whether that's for students or whether that's for newlyweds or older, senior homes, as well as single family as well too. We've got to provide opportunities on all those levels.
Sure. And that brings us to the challenge, right? Trying to meet all the expectations, all the needs, all the demands, and that's assuming everything goes right, that there isn't a supply chain disruption that brings construction to a halt or things like that.
Prime example is like the plaza and the library. We ordered a part for the library a year and a half ago, and it just was installed today. A year and a half we had to wait for that one part, and it really slowed the project down. Same thing with the plaza. But there's, you mentioned earlier, it's like sometimes you have to deal with UDOT, and that's a prime example for Logan City. It would be wonderful if we could just magically fix Main Street and it just worked perfectly for everybody.
Sure.
It's not our street, it's a highway, and so UDOT has control over that. But if you have not driven on 100 West from basically Bridgerland Park all the way out to the highway out there where McDonald's is, that road is amazing now. It goes all the way through, and it's like that's my favorite road to drive on.
I drive it every day.
It takes so much congestion. If people would use it, it would take so much congestion off of Main Street. I need to go south, that's the road that I'm taking because where our business is, I'm just right there off of First West, and it is a great addition to our community. We invested into that bridge, we invested into that infrastructure, and now you have a straight shot from basically Center Street right out to the highway on First. It's amazing.
And it is, it's also an example of a city, responding to changing demands, in this case, traffic demands. And, when it comes to the planning, Mark, I know, so if reelected, you'll be one city council member among a group. And then, of course, there's the mayor with some power in the decision-making process, the planning commission, all these things. But if you could, if reelected, just wave a magic wand, whether it be something with traffic or housing or downtown, or is there one thing that is just a top priority issue for you that has to happen?
A lot of the other candidates have really been talking a lot about affordable housing. And as I look at it, affordable housing touches on a lot of people in our community, but not everyone. And so, yes, it's critical, but it's not, for me, the most important thing. what does touch on everyone is cost of services, whether that's utilities or cost of using the recreational center, or cost of environmental. I just rented a dumpster to get all the green waste out of our properties, and what a great service that is, and it's really inexpensive. And I'm looking at our utilities and our fees and what it costs for our citizens to do, and we've got to keep those as affordable as possible. It doesn't matter how much your house payment is if your utilities cost more than your house payment.
Sure.
That is not affordable, and that is something that impacts every citizen in Logan. And I'm not in the market for buying a house, so affordable housing for me personally is it's not impacting me right now.
Sure.
But I know it does a lot of other people. But one thing that does impact everyone in Logan City are utilities. And if we can't get inexpensive, affordable electricity, that impacts everybody. If we can't keep our sewer and our garbage collection and our utilities across the board, if we cannot keep those affordable for our citizens, that is a real problem, and that starts to impact everyone in the entire city. So for me, keeping our utilities affordable, making sure we provide the best services to our citizens as possible, that's number one on my priority list, and that happens to be a new recreation center as well too. That's something we've got to do in the next few years. Is we need a new recreation center. The Logan City School District has been wonderful to work with the recreation center for so many years.
Yeah.
But they own half of it, and they actually own the property, and so
and they're growing too, right?
And they are growing too, and they really need to expand what they've got going there at the high school. So it's up to us to decide as a city, do we want to create a new recreation center for all of our citizens, or should we maybe even partner with the county and create a community center, where everyone in our community can come and use those services. That's a very, very critical and important service that we provide to our citizens, whether it's the pool or whether it's parks. And of course, we want more parks. We want that outdoor recreational opportunity. But when winter hits, it's really, really nice to have the recreation center to be able to do that. And we need to explore that and look at, do we need an indoor pool? Do we need a new skate park? What do we need, and try and create something that's going to fit as many needs as possible, and try and keep it as reasonably priced for all of our citizens as we can. That is,
again, a great look into Mark's vision, if reelected, where he would like to take the city. And Mark, I really like how you said that. It isn't a good thing if you can afford your mortgage or your payment on the house, but you can't afford to have the garbage collected each week.
Exactly.
And we have seen that grow in some cities in Utah, right?
Oh yeah, I've got some really good friends that used to live in New York, and their utilities cost more than their house payment, and they lived on Long Island.
Yeah,
it blew me away. I couldn't believe it. And so they have since moved to Michigan. But that's something that we have to focus on as a city council, and continue to provide the best possible services for our citizens at the most affordable price that we possibly can. That's why we just spent $21 million, and we authorized $21 million to get some generators, some natural gas generators that are as clean as we can get right now. We'd love to do something cleaner, but to offset some of the times when our solar is just not producing.
Sure.
We've got some great solar opportunities for energy, but if we're supposed to get 7 megawatts, sometimes we only get 5. Sometimes we only get 3. We're not getting enough, and then at night we're not getting any. And so those generators are going to help offset that, so we don't have to go out on the open market and spend $100, $200, $400 a megawatt when we can generate it for 50 or 60 ourselves. And so that's really a lot of money for us to spend. But in the long run, it's going to pay for itself so much faster because of the amount of money that we're saving, not having to go out on the open market like we did last year.
Sure.
Last year that really hurt us when we were having to pay $500 a megawatt, and that's why everybody's power bill went up. We had to implement a surcharge just to cover the cost. And Logan City's not in the business to make money. We're trying to provide services at what it really a real cost to our customers, and try and keep those costs down as much as possible.
That is, and we're talking for listeners out there who may not be aware of this. When you go out on that open market and have to buy power, especially on short notice, the rates can vary between $40 a megawatt hour to $500 a megawatt hour.
$1,000.
Yeah,
we saw $1,000 a megawatt last year, and that is what kills cities. That just depletes your reserves, and we are fortunate. We are so fortunate that our mayor and our city staff has been so conscientious that we have built up some reserves over the years, and so we've been able to cover that. But other cities have not. It really hurt them last year, and so we're trying to plan ahead, try and buffer some of those costs so that we can keep our utilities affordable for our citizens.
Absolutely important thing to do. And Mark, before just a couple minutes left before we go to the news here, before we part ways with you today, I just wanted to personally send a note of thanks on the airwaves here for something you did way back in July with your opponent. Of all things, something you don't see in politics these days, even in most municipal races. But you joined with your opponent in this race, and you filmed a video encouraging people just to register and get out and vote. And for listeners, if you want to see that, it's posted on Mark's campaign Facebook page, Mark Anderson, Logan City Council, and I've linked to that page on our own page as well. But if you scroll down a bit on Mark Anderson's Logan City Council Facebook page, you'll see this video, and just it was so great to see. Two people who are in an election and kind of running against each other, joining together to film a video that just says, regardless of which one of us you support, get out and vote. I thought that was so great to see.
Yeah. To me, it's so important because, this is one of those elections where our numbers really decline. And when we started thinking about running again and what we're going to campaign about, what we're going to focus on, and that just kept coming to the top of my mind. It's like we really need to get our citizens to get out and vote and participate, and they can feel like they make a difference. They can feel like their voice is heard, and this is your opportunity to do that. And Mike Johnson was great enough to get with me, and we filmed a couple videos, and he was in one of them, and it's just encouraging people. Please, you can make a difference. We do want to hear your voice. Get out and vote, and it was a lot of fun. We had a great time doing it.
It was honestly just fascinating to see, and I hope we see more of that. And hats off to you for being a part of that. Thank you. And for running as well. Anyone who files to run deserves kudos for that, because it's not an easy thing to do. Even if you have served already, running for election, it puts you right out there.
I would never say that being on city council is fun, but I will say very honestly, it is enjoyable. I have learned so much about the city. I've been able to meet people and learn about their jobs and what they do, and really understand what's happening on the city level. And that has been very, very enlightening. It's been very humbling. And it's been a great experience to get to know the staff and to really see how much they work and how hard they work and how they really, really care about the city. They really want it to be the best that they possibly can be. And as a member of City Council, I want to do everything I can to support them so that they have the resources that they need to take care of our citizens. And that's been a very, very rewarding 4 years for me. And I would love to do it for another 4. And I really appreciate your support and the support of the listeners as well, too.
Oh, it's our pleasure to be able to spotlight candidates, and just to remind people there is election going on, as you did in the campaign video you made. It's a pleasure. And Mark, always a pleasure to have you here on the show under any respect.
For sure.
Ask Mark. Sorry?
We got to get together and we got to talk about the compost facility and the water treatment facility, because it's so exciting. It's so exciting, and people don't understand how amazing that facility is that we have. It's actually a treasure for our community. So we got to get together and talk about it. So
absolutely, I have so many questions, and I've been watching that play out, and Mark, again, a pleasure to have you join us here. Mark is a candidate. You'll see his name on the ballots this November. So find out more at Mark Anderson, Logan City Council, the Facebook page. I've linked to that on our own Facebook page. You can also email Mark with any questions you have at askmarkanderson@gmail.com, and that is Anderson with an O, askmarkanderson@gmail.com. Mark Anderson, candidate for Logan City Council, our guest. Again, Mark, thanks to you for your time, to our listeners for your time, and we'll be back with more of For the People after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:33, and the news is brought to you by Logan Extermination. The Utah State University Hunger Solutions Institute hosts Nourish Tank, a biannual student competition to help combat food insecurity with unique, innovative, and sustainable solutions. Teams of emerging entrepreneurs and changemakers are encouraged to compete in a Shark Tank-style event to showcase their groundbreaking ideas that tackle food insecurity and malnutrition. Students at USU campuses statewide are invited to participate in the competition. Application deadline is October 6th at midnight. 5 teams will be chosen to present their ideas to a panel of judges and awarded $200 each. A judging panel of industry experts will select one team as the grand prize winner to receive $1,000. Sponsors of this event include the USU College of Agriculture and Applied Sciences, USU Extension, the Aggie Chocolate Factory, and USU Dining Services. A road in a remote area of Utah was closed for hours after a semi filled with fuel rolled over and burst into flames. State Route 24 was closed in both directions at milepost 45, which is near Loa in Wayne County, beginning just before 8 a.m. Traffic was reopened in both directions at around 1 p.m. Utah Highway Patrol officials reported the semi was hauling double trailers, both of which were loaded with fuel. The rear trailer rolled and the truck became engulfed, according to the UHP. Once the fire was extinguished, video from Jerry Schmidt showed the charred remains of the truck still smoldering from the fire. And women alleging abuse during their time as employees and contractors of Operation Underground Railroad have retained legal counsel. Attorney Suzette Rasmussen will address the media with a statement on behalf of the alleged victims who have chosen to remain anonymous on Thursday. Rasmussen, who works for Freeman and Lovell, has experience in litigation, corporate governance, government affairs, and international business. She previously served as Governor Herbert's staff attorney and chief operating officer of World Trade Center, Utah. Tim Ballard, former leader of Operation Underground Railroad, has defended himself against allegations of misconduct in recent weeks after the rare rebuke made by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a rebuke he has questioned as being real. The public statement came on the same day Vice News reported he left Operation Underground Railroad, which he founded after an investigation into claims of sexual misconduct involving 7 women. Vice News reported that Ballard invited those women to accompany him on overseas anti-trafficking missions to pretend to be his wife. Ballard would then allegedly coerce those women into sharing a bed or showering together, claiming it was necessary to fool traffickers. Ballard maintains that he is in good standing with his faith, denies sexual allegations against him, explaining in an online video that his missions used something he calls the couples ruse. Ballard said the ruse is a tactic they use in their undercover efforts to proactively rescue children, nothing more and nothing less. KBNU News Time is 5:36.
It's been a crazy few months with big rainstorms fueling the weeds in your lawn, garden, or empty lot, and the spiders coming inside to beat the heat. You need help. Let Logan Extermination take care of those pesky weeds and unwanted pests with an exterior lawn application and interior treatment for bugs. Call Logan Extermination today before your home becomes enemy territory. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
Weed control starts at $45. Interior spider spray starts at $95. A worst-case scenario. That's what the Defense Department says a government shutdown would mean for the military. Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh.
If there is a shutdown, in just a few days, our service members would be required to continue working, but would be doing so without pay, and hundreds and thousands of their civilian colleagues would be furloughed.
That shutdown could occur in just 2 days. President Biden taking aim at former President Trump and his supporters during a speech today in Arizona about democracy.
There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy. The MAGA movement.
The president also announcing funding for a memorial to his longtime friend and fellow Senator Republican John McCain. The UAW's historic strike against Detroit's big three automakers is about to enter its third week. Tomorrow, the union's president, Shawn Fain, is expected to announce that workers at more plants nationwide will walk off the job. Stocks closed higher today. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
KBNU weather for tonight, mostly clear skies and the overnight low around 40. Partly cloudy in the morning, then clearing on Friday, mid-70s for the high. And then winds coming out of the southeast, 10 to 20 miles an hour on Saturday, increasing to the southwest, 15 to 25 in the afternoon. Sunny and then partly cloudy, upper 70s, but a chance of showers developing by Saturday night. 72 has been our high. It's 70 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch, one of the most beautiful places to build a home in Cache Valley. National Forest, hiking trails, streams right out your backyard. Final phase of development is available now. Go to maplecreek.net for more information. You can always get more news at cachevalleydaily.com.
Are you in need of excellent surgical care? Budge Clinic General Surgery offers the future of surgery with state-of-the-art robotic-assisted procedures. From cancer treatments to surgical needs, they've got you covered. Call Budge Clinic General Surgery today, 435-716-1950, to schedule a consultation and experience the best possible outcome. Trust Doctors Anderson, Marshall, McKenna, and Peterson, the experts at Budge Clinic General Surgery, helping people live the healthiest lives possible.
If you've recently moved into our community or are attending Utah State, on behalf of the Cache Valley Media Group, we welcome you. As you settle in, we encourage you to support our local businesses. In fact, pick up a free copy of the Best of Northern Utah magazine. Let it be your compass for discovering the best our community has to offer. From quaint bookstores to delicious bakeries, electricians to dentists, coffee shops to florists. These businesses were voted the very best in our community. Go to bestofnorthernutah.com for magazine pickup locations.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Thanks again to Mark Anderson for joining us as a candidate. Mike Johnson, Mark's opponent in this race, joined us yesterday. Jeannie Simmons was with us on Tuesday. We won't do this at 5:10 tomorrow due to the movie show, but we'll be back at it 5:10 Monday, Tuesday. We'll keep going through these. And actually, Tuesday we have the book club. So Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll get to the remainder of the candidates. So 3 this week, 3 next, and we'll have officially done a spotlight on every candidate for Logan City Council, but there's still time to get through every city. So again, a plea to listeners, if something is bubbling up in the races in your city, if there's a candidate or spotlight you'd like us to make a priority, if you want to leave it to me to just start randomly going through the calendars and seeing who I can get on and when, great. I'm fine with that. That's how I normally do things. But if you'd like to influence what we get to, and make me get to it a little faster, or make sure we don't miss it if we run out of time, shoot me an email. And again, I try to stay up on what's happening in Cache Valley, valley-wide. But it seems like in municipal years, election years, there are always issues that are so hyper-specific, hyper-local to that city, to that part of the valley, that if you don't live there, you might not know about it. And obviously, I can't live in every city. Can I? No, I can't afford that yet. But it's a risk that we'll just miss them. So you live there. You know what the elections in your city are about, what people are most concerned about, what the candidates are responding to most. So let me know. If there's one you think we should get to first, we'd be glad to. So kvnuftp@gmail.com is the email address for the show. Send those in. Also, use that email address if you're a Logan resident and want to send in a question ahead of the October 18th Meet the Candidates night that we'll be moderating. I'll be there moderating the event. We'll broadcast it live here on KVNU from 6 to 7. And for those who are there in person, they get a bonus, which is 7 to 8. We'll keep it going in a bit more of an informal setting that we may just actually end up asking one question and having all 6 candidates go at it. Okay, not go at it, but hopefully we will be able to get a distinction drawn between the candidates during the 6 to 7 broadcast that night, because that's, I know, what voters most often tell me, that they struggle filling out their ballot because they can't really tell the big differences between the candidates. So we'll do our best over the next month here plus to make sure that isn't the case. But again, if your city has an issue, or if there's a particular candidate you think deserves a spotlight for good or bad reasons, shoot me an email, kvnuftp@gmail.com, and we'll do that. But again, we'll continue on into next week with the remaining 3 municipal council candidates for Logan City's municipal elections, and then we'll move on to other cities after that. So think about it and shoot me an email with some suggestions, 753-5868, if you want to throw those out on air as well. You're welcome to do that at any time during the show, unless we have a guest with us. This is a bit of it's an announcement that the mayor actually made, but just a kind of a programming note. Mark Anderson will be joining us again sometime in October, mainly because as a city council member, he's been sort of the point guy on this one, as I understand it. But Logan City, the mayor told us, got a grant they'd applied for, a $4 million grant. It does require some matching funds from the city, not the entire $4 million amount, as some grants require, but a significant amount. So that'll give the city the $4 million through the grant. It gives them a boost of about 2 to 1 on the money they had set aside for this, which will allow for a construction of a much fancier and more state-of-the-art composting facility, which it's always sort of surprised me Logan didn't have one of those with the number of people who live in the city. But that will soon, it's going to be a few years, but eventually, and soonish, that will be a thing for Logan residents. So we'll have a chance to speak with Mark Anderson about that later on in the month, not as a candidate, but as a city council member. And to make things fair, we'll give some time to his opponent as well in October. So not the last you've heard from candidates is what I'm getting at here. So I don't have the energy to break it down step by step. What came out today about the latest in the Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad saga. For listeners, regular listeners, I've said on the show I'm angry about this because I have been a fan since they burst on scene of Operation Underground Railroad and Tim Ballard. And over the last 9 days, the stories both from Vice News and now coming from local media, as local media has gotten access to those same public documents from the Troy Rollins Davis County Attorney's Office investigation of Operation Underground Railroad. It's hard not to just say this whole thing looks like a scam from the start. I don't think it was from the start. I don't know anyone intimately involved here personally, other than we'd had Tim Ballard on the show many times over the years. We had Attorney General Sean Reyes here in the studio. He actually handed me a ticket to the first documentary, quote unquote, made about Operation Underground Railroad called The Abolitionists, way back, I think 10 years ago. He handed me that ticket right here in the studio. I saw that. I was so excited about Operation Underground Railroad and their mission. And over the years, I've been really excited to see how they've, and this you can never take from them. Even if everything we've learned now just makes you feel almost dirty for having been involved, you still have to give them credit for raising the at least national, if not international, consciousness when it comes to human trafficking. And that, I think they will always deserve credit for. Although, as these stories trickle out, it's getting harder and harder to give them even that credit because these aren't great stories. So I won't break it down in detail, but I will tell you that you can find it at several different media outlets. I first read it through Adam Herberts at Fox 13, tweeting through it earlier today. Well, I should have been paying attention to work as they were going through these public documents. The short version, we have more detail now on what the church statement was likely alluding to when it referenced. There was a sentence in the statement from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints when this first all happened, or all burst into the media sphere 10 days ago. There was a sentence there that could be interpreted as saying that Elder Russell M. Nelson was, I'm sorry, that's a different news story that Bill just read and it's in my head. Elder M. Russell Ballard, it was a sentence that basically implied that Tim Ballard had abused his friendship with Elder Ballard for personal gain. That's the implication the sentence put out. We now know that's the case. Today we got more details on that, and it is awful. But I want to kind of skip over those details to get to another point of this. What's irritating me now about this story? I'm still mad because I guess the way I should put it is I wanted Operation Underground Railroad to be what they claimed to be because I thought the work was important. And to learn that they were not really even doing it most of this time, that this was basically a fundraising apparatus to funnel money into some high-paid salaries for Tim Ballard and some others, to find out that Tim Ballard had some issues, ethical and otherwise, personally and in his business dealings, including coercing female employees to shower with him and share his bed under the ruse that it was all part of training for the mission, which would never happen because they weren't even doing missions anymore. I mean, this is just really disappointing, and that's an understatement to read about. But I want to put all that aside, including the details that came out today that kind of shed some light on what the church probably meant by saying, Tim Ballard had abused his friendship with M. Russell Ballard, Elder Ballard, for personal gain. Short version, it looks like Tim was kind of implying to donors who were starting to get suspicious and sketchy, especially when they started to find out that the entire intelligence apparatus for Operation Underground Railroad, every bit of it was a psychic, a single individual. That was their intelligence operation for the last 6 years. And when people would get nervous about that, it sounds like what Tim Ballard would do is say, "Oh, don't worry. Elder Ballard is our silent partner in all of this. He's totally on board." So it's obvious at this point the church was getting ahead of that. They saw what Vice News had and what was going to be released public document-wise to local news soon after. Vice News got it first because they have better attorneys, is what it comes down to. You have to sue to get this stuff, and it's unfortunate, but they did, and they won, and everyone knew that would happen, but it's still the hoops everybody has to jump through, and Vice could afford to pay the attorneys to sue and all to go through this process, and they got the documents first. Now the documents have hit the local media, and more is starting to come out, and you can read about it everywhere. What I want to focus on here today is not the last salacious detail, although it is kind of important and part of the story that it appears Tim Ballard was using his friendship with Elder M. Russell Ballard to continue to pull the wool over donors' eyes, and we're talking big money donors, people who were donating $25,000 at a time, and he was getting them to continue doing that despite their, naturally suspicions starting to be coming up again and again about AUR and all of its operations. I don't know. What I want to say here is when it comes to this whole OUR story and Tim Ballard and all of this, one of the most concerning things for me has been in all of these stories, a subtext of all of these stories, a lot of people knew about this for a long time, including the part with Tim Ballard pulling the wool over big money donors' eyes and small money donors. In fact, one event that's actually cited in the public documents from the investigation from the Davis County Attorney's Office last year it says that at one event they raised more than $100,000 from small donors, meaning you and I, people who don't have the money to give $25,000 a pop. They still took $102,000 at a single event in which Tim Ballard was telling a story that the public documents now made public confirm was never true. The story of the rescue of a Haitian child that was based supposedly on intelligence they were getting from law enforcement in the area, but it turns out it was actually just a psychic telling them this little boy was here, and that they never actually found anything. And that the supposed people with guns they saw were actually people who were guarding nearby farms and didn't even raise the weapons. I mean, just a very different story from the story that launched OUR into the media. Anyway, a lot of people knew about it. That's really frustrating to learn. Not as frustrating as the details of the story. But considering all the people I know here in Cache Valley and throughout Utah, where most of the small dollar fundraising happened over the last 10 years, the fact that there were people who knew these details we're just now finding out for a long time. Give you one specific example, Attorney General Sean Reyes. He has known all of this for more than a year because of an email the Davis County attorney sent him, which ended, "I will trust that you will not discuss this with Tim Ballard's personal counsel." He was worried that the Attorney General's office would leak what he had to tell them by law as a county attorney to Tim Ballard. That is really frustrating to learn, and that there was all this evidence, all allegations still at this point, but credible evidence in this investigation that they were not being honest with donors and with their public donation asks in what Operation Underground Railroad was actually about these days, which was not doing missions, as they claimed. It was about funding. Well, mostly high-dollar salaries. $900,000 a year is what Ballard was paying himself. And that some high-profile people here in Utah, elected officials included, knew about it and allowed it to continue. And even in Attorney General Sean Reyes' case, helped to still promote the organization. That's disappointing. 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
Is it time to upgrade or transform your dining area? Stop in and browse U&I Furniture's big selection of dining sets. U&I just picked up a spectacular assortment from different brand name manufacturers. They have small tables for two, up to a big table for all family gatherings. U&I has lots of options, some with benches and swivel stools. And make sure you check out the chairs U&I has. Accent chairs, recliners, upholstered chairs, and more. There really is always a better buy at U&I. U&I Furniture in downtown Logan.
The people have spoken. Steel-coated epoxy floors of Cache Valley is the 3-time gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah. Known for their extremely durable floor coating systems, they can completely transform your concrete, garages and shops, porches and patios. They coat it all. With over 25 years of operation, Steel-coated epoxy floors is Cache Valley's premier coating professionals. Contact Steel-coated floors of Cache Valley today. Find them online at scfcachevalley.com or call 435-512-1284.
What if you could come home every day to a peaceful retreat nestled in the mountains? A place that's only minutes from downtown Logan, but offers access to national forests from your own backyard, surrounded by mountains, horse riding, hiking trails, babbling brooks, and more. All this at Maple Creek Ranch, which is now in its 4th and final phase of development. 2.5-acre lots, your own piece of paradise that's remote yet accessible. And road improvements will be completed this summer. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Go to maplecreekranch.net. Maple Creek Ranch, just east of Franklin, Idaho.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. That is, for the most part, our time for today. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Please be back with us tomorrow. We have a lot to cover still. We'll have some details, hints, and pieces coming out about the upcoming legislative session. I expect this to be in a news dump tomorrow. We also have a rundown of who's officially in, who might be in, and who's rumored but unlikely probably to be in the United States Senate race to replace Mitt Romney, who has decided not to seek re-election. I still say this was Romney's to lose if he decided to seek re-election. He said because of his age, he wants to step aside. There are some younger candidates. There are some older candidates. There are some big names. There are some complete unknowns. But it's looking like this might shape up to be, well, okay, it's likely, very likely at this point, this could shake up to be a primary race next year going in from January to June between the Speaker of the Utah House, a relative unknown in southern and northern Utah, well-known in Utah County, and Congressman John Stewart. Curtis. John Stewart was a television host and a comedian. Congressman John Curtis, rumored to be eyeing up after some polling, jumping in the race. That could make things